guys, I'm back again and I'm here to do my September wrap up. So September was not a bad month. I mean, I wanted to read more books, but it just wasn't possible. I've read, I've read 6 books and I ended the month on 2 books. So that carried over to October. So you'll see them in my October wrap up. So let's get started. So the first book I want to talk about is this one, which is Wandering in Strange Lands, A Daughter of the Great Migration Reclaims Her Roots. And I have to say that this book I was very happily surprised with. I wasn't really sure what I was going to get because from the way it sounded like it was going to be very much connected to Isabel Wilkerson's book. And in fact, it was something a little different. So the book basically is centered around Morgan Jerkins, who is looking for more information on her father's side of the family. And in searching for her family, she learns a lot more details and understands a lot more depth into African American culture, stemming from a lot of different things, from what we eat, you know, soul food, to, for example, certain things that we say quite often, like Black people. A lot of Black Americans feel like they have American Indian in their family. Also, what we feel about Creoles not necessarily only being light-skinned Black people. She learns a lot of little things about our culture in depth and detail, and where some of these things that we say and do, where they come from. She also goes and looks into the Geechee culture, and that is very interesting as well, because we find there that this area is being depleted by wealthy white people who are coming to take the land in that area, and it's very devastating for the Black culture there. So I highly recommend this book. The thing that I liked the most, that I appreciated the most, was her voice. Her voice just rings through. This is nonfiction, and it rings through very personably, and it was a joy to read. I read this one a little bit in the afternoons, and I also listened to it a little bit on my walks in the morning. And I just thoroughly looked forward to it. And I think I will probably at some point listen to this one again, because I really enjoyed some of the things that she had to say. And I highly recommend it for anybody who is interested in understanding more African American culture. Okay, next on my list, I read the 3rd installment, L'Odyssée d'Akim, de la Macédoine à la France. So this is the 3rd and last volume of the journey of Akim, who goes from Macedonia to France with his little boy. And it is, wow, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's harrowing. And it's just extraordinary to see, you know, what he goes through to join his wife in France and his wife's family. I highly recommend this. This is in French. I don't think there's a translation just yet, but I would say put this on your list because I'm sure it's going to be translated. It's really very good. All right, next on my list, I have Cassandra at the Wedding by Dorothy Baker. Okay, this right here was not my cup of tea. This is a story told from the point of view of a twin who is gay and bitter. And you basically, it's not a long novel. It's fairly short. It runs around 241 pages, I think. But the majority of the time we're in the head of this bitter twin, and a few times we hear the voice of the other twin, which is Judith. Judith is the other twin who is getting married, and Cassandra is the bitter gay twin. And this book annoyed me right from the start, because basically I'm reading the book, and then I get to page 11, and this is what I read. "We could live someplace else, couldn't we?" I heard her say. "We could live in Paris. We'd look just as much alike in Paris as we do here. But it wouldn't matter. They'd overlook it. That's why colored people go to Paris." "To be overlooked?" I said. "I'm not sure I want to be overlooked, and I don't want you to be either." "We wouldn't be. You could break down and start writing and..." Okay. That was on page 11. And when I read that, I was just like, nah, bro, I'm out. So I did not have my head in for this book. I finished it. I don't understand why it's a classic. It's so dated. And not only that, it's just like rich people problems. That's what it feels like when you're reading this book, especially reading it in this day and age with everything that's going on. It feels frivolous and silly, and nobody cares. So would I recommend it? No, I wouldn't recommend it. If you're curious, go ahead and pick it up. But I personally didn't enjoy it. In the book club, I think the majority of the people did not enjoy the book, and they could not figure out why it was a classic. I think there was only maybe 2 or 3 people who enjoyed the book. All right, next, I read this, which was a classic, Oliver Twist by Dickens, of course. And oh my goodness, this was so good. Now, I buddy read this with Peter from Comfy Cozy Up. We had a few little discussions about the book as we were reading along, and we both agreed that this is one really good book by Dickens, because number one, the story is excellent. The story is believable. It has a lot of lively characters in here. And the main thing is the book is not at all bloated like some of his own ones are. So for example, when we read the previous one, which was The Old Curiosity Shop, it was a little bloated in places. Whereas the Oliver Twist was just a straight up good story. And I really like this edition, because this edition, it has like pictures like this all the way through. And it's just an agreeable read, and it's very interesting, and you just want to get back to it. Once you put it down, you want to get back to the story. It's very, very interesting. Great ending. Loved everything about it. Highly recommend Charles Dickens, Oliver Twist, if you're interested in classics. Next on the list, I'm going to put the book here. It's called Deadly Sins by Stella Oni. Okay, now this was a book that was published in conjunction with Jacaranda Books, and they were doing what they call Black British Writers 20 in 2020. So that means they published 20 Black British writers this year. Now, sadly, COVID struck, so all of the events and things that they had planned had to be changed, and so that probably made things go a lot slower. But I decided to read this one, Deadly Sins, and let me tell you, now I like reading these kind of like little detective series things. This is book 1 in this series. It's called the Detective Ade series, and Detective Ade is a young Black British woman, and she is raising her I think he's maybe 10, 11, 12 years old son. And she is a detective. And the thing that this book does really well is it adds this sprinkling of African culture into this story that takes place in Britain. So it begins with some children playing in their apartment complex, like in the area of their apartment complex. And as they're playing, they're moving around, and what do they find? A child's hand. And from there, the police is called, the children are questioned, and there is a outright urgency to find the child whose hand this is. So the people are worried that the child had her hand severed and is going, to die. And the Detective Ade and her partner have to go around and question a lot of people to find out more about what's been going on. So I highly recommend you pick this one up because it has a lot of really good twists and turns. And it's just the thing that's the best about it is I listened to this one on audio. So you're thinking, okay, it's going to be really cheesy on audio. And in fact, the audio is done so well, down to all the different various accents that we get, down to the specifically different voices of the different characters. This is all done superbly well. If you like detective stories, I say pick this one up because it's got something a little different, a different flair than maybe what people are normally expecting. Highly recommend it. And I have spoken with Stella Oni, and she is currently working on book 2, which is supposed to come out, I think, in 2022. So there you go. There you have it. The last book I read of last month was this one. It's called The Gold Diggers by Sue Nyathi. Whew, this one right here, y'all know, because if you don't know, I did a book review on this. I'll link it below so you can check it out. Firstly, I want to thank Marina for suggesting this book to me. Thank you, Marina, for introducing me to Sue Nyathi. So good. I highly recommend this book. It's about 6 characters that are going from Zimbabwe to South Africa for various different reasons. And we follow these characters on their journey to succeed in what they're looking for. And as the story progresses, we learn how difficult it is to be an illegal immigrant in South Africa with some of the things that some of these people want to do and the difficulties that they go through to get what they want. I highly recommend this, one, because Sue Nyathi is a writer that we haven't heard a lot of people talk about. And she's very interesting. She's from Bulawayo and she resides in Johannesburg. And here she is right here. And she has another book which is called The Polygamist. That was her first book. This one is her second book, The Gold Diggers. And her third book is called, I think it's called A Family Affair. And it has been released, I think, recently or going to be released. So yeah, highly recommend this one. That is all I have for you today. Those are the 6 books that I read last month. I hope that this month I'm going to get more reading in because I have quite a few things that I need to get to and that I want to get to. So we still have 3 more weeks in this month. So I'm going to get busy. I'm going to get down to it, and hopefully I can read everything that I want to read this month. So that's all I have for you today. Comment below and tell me what you read last month, if you were happy with what you read, with the quantity that you read, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.